Hey. Two lives in a row, you guys. One live last night, one live tonight. Kind of liking this live stuff. Trying to wake myself up. Rick in, man. How do you always get on these lives? I see you all over the place, dude. I think you're. By the way, this is the cup from the infamous steering wheel holder from Life rap video. I work from home. Okay, yeah. I see you everywhere, dude. What's up, Chris C, man? How's it going? Ross, you got the notification, man. YouTube's not listening to us. We're supposed to hide those from you. Jeremy, what's up, man? New to the channel. Awesome. Always like having new folks join the channel. I'm just messing with you, Ross. It's good you got a notification, though. So I'm drinking coffee. I just woke up. In the past, I've been very unsuccessful at keeping my trucking schedule at home because I like to sleep at night at home, so it always messes it up when it's time to go because I can't sleep the first day out on the road. Morning, Matthew F. So this week I've done a really good job of sleeping all day every day and then staying up all night. So yes, it is good morning to me. I just woke up. Well, I woke up at 4 and then took a shower. I'm just now having my Black Rifle Company coffee. Do it all, man. Welcome back to Springfield, bro. We're supposed to take you out and paint the town tomorrow. Do it all, I hear. I told Jenna I was going to surprise you and take you to the gun range tomorrow. Do it all, but apparently it's not going to happen. We got other stuff to do. Johnson's Lodge, that's what I'm dealing with right now, trying to transition back to night shift. Yeah, man, it is freaking hard. And usually when I'm home, I sleep all night, I have like normal hours. And so I always tell myself, well, I'm going to stay up all night the last night before we leave and get back on the road, and then try to sleep during the day, and then we'll go pick up a load in the evening. But usually what always happens is we call driver lineup over at Springfield, over at the terminal, and they'll say you can go get this empty trailer up in Indiana, or we have this really good load going to Maine or something that leaves like now. So then I don't get to sleep the whole first day of the trip and then have to drive all night. And so it's hard. But anyway, this time home, I've done a really good job of sleeping all day and staying up all night, almost every single night. I didn't go to bed until like 4:30 this morning. So do it all said no. We are eventually going to get you to the gun range, dude. It's not tomorrow. I think we got too much to accomplish tomorrow. Problem is, you go to the gun range, man. You can spend like 5-6 hours out there, especially with all the. Well, we have toys. We have fun. We have toys. If you talk business, you might not like my responses. Well, hey, everybody's got different takes on things. Jeremy, just want to let you know your content is great. I also follow David H. and No Hippie. Jeremy, you need to follow Do It All Trucking and Johnson's Logic. They're in the chat right now. Go over to their channels. They've got really good stuff too. If you like what you're seeing on David H, No Hippie Trucking, and my channel, then Do It All and Johnson's Logic are great channels because we're kind of all rowing our boats in the same direction, but I think we all have our own very unique take on things. So, but I appreciate the follow, dude. That's awesome. Dustin Anderson, what's up? So anyway, guys, I want to jump into a topic real quick that I wanted to talk about tonight. And Jeremy, you also work for Prime. Awesome. So I got a text message today. I don't want to read the whole text message to you, and I don't want to tell you who it's from, but let me get this topic out of the way real quick because I'm probably going to pull this part of the video out and use it in a video in the future. Although last night I've got a $7,500 Apple computer that I've used in the past for video production that totally crapped out on me last night. I lost my RAM, my memory on it, so it sucks. And I bought that custom memory, I don't know, like 5 years ago. Very expensive memory, 64 gigabytes of memory. So I had to replace that. Oh, it just sucks. I've got the trash can looking Apple Mac Pro. It took a dive on me last night, so I got to replace that RAM. Anyway, so I got this text message from a Prime lease driver, team truck, couple, fiance, engaged, where they're talking about how he said that he had the same problem that I had. And I might have to screw up, so don't comment too fast, guys, because I just want to get through some thoughts real quick, and then I'll jump in and address comments. But anyway, he had the same problem that I had, which on my truck, if you follow my channel and go back a long time, you'll see that Jenna sleeps like a rock. She could sleep through anything. She could sleep through a hurricane, tornado, lightning storm, you name it. She could sleep through anything on a truck. I can't sleep for shit when a truck is moving. So I especially couldn't sleep in the Freightliner, like none at all. And then now that we have the Pete, I can at least get 3 to 5 hours of good sleep while she's driving. So what we do is we make our loads. We pick loads and choose freight lanes that help us stop in the evening. Usually try to have her off the road by like 4:30 p.m. and then stop and sleep and shower and stuff. And then I get moving at like, usually 11 p.m. or somewhere around there. So I'm explaining it to this guy, and he says that they like never reject loads. So he's like, how did you resolve the problem? And I said, we reached a point where we just rejected a shit ton of loads. So, and he's saying, I'm explaining my situation to my fleet manager, and it just doesn't seem. So I had this big, long discussion with him, and I'm not suggesting anyone reject a lot of loads. I'll explain a little bit on that here in a little bit. But so anyway, I'm kind of talking to him through what we went through to get it through to them that it was unsafe to run us as a team the way they were running us. Now, some teams can do great, like Travis Kinley, they're a company truck, and maybe I guess they do great running 6,000 miles a week. And in TNT, maybe it's a little bit different. I slept differently in TNT. When you're 2 years into it and you're a team, I think you just want to have life too, and there's that kind of that psychological side of it. Anyway, after I kind of explained to him my situation, I get another text, someone asking me about freight lanes. And I got a comment last night about this as well. I'm pounding coffee here, guys. Like I said, I just woke up. So I get into this conversation about freight lanes. And this comes up like every single day. I'll get a comment on an old video like 2 months ago or somewhere on YouTube about freight lanes. And I always see other YouTubers talking about freight lanes, primate freight lanes. And sometimes it can be a tad misleading when you see prime drivers talk about freight lanes, because you don't necessarily have a whole lot of control over the lanes that you run. You do have some control over it, but unless you're just rejecting a lot of loads, you don't have a whole lot of control over the lanes you run. You have some, not a lot. Not the way I think some people make incoming prime drivers believe that you have control over the freight lanes. Now, that doesn't mean that prime drivers don't know the freight lanes. They absolutely do. I talk about this all the time. You have the meat patch, which would be Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, some parts of Missouri, Iowa, Nebraska, up into Minnesota, even Illinois. And believe it or not, there's a great beef plant up in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So it's like that whole swath, of the meat patch where you get really good meat loads. So understanding where those are, and ones that are in Dodge City may pay a lot better than ones that are, in Tulsa or Amarillo. Like there's one down south of Amarillo. It doesn't pay that great. But there's one up 70 miles northwest of Omaha that is almost always $2.50 a mile. So, you definitely learn those. You learn, like Atlanta. I've talked about Atlanta. I love loading out of Atlanta, although as Ross Johnson's Logic is my witness, I don't like driving in Atlanta. I'll certainly try to plan it to go through Atlanta in the middle of the night, but there's such a diverse range of loads in Atlanta. I mean, I've hauled chewing gum, paint, chicken, Rice Krispies. I just can't even begin to describe the number of the different types of loads I've taken out of Atlanta. Some of them are cheap loads, but some of them are very good paying loads. But it's just such a stop talking about my city. Hey, I'm saying good things about your city, dude. I wasn't talking shit about Atlanta, by the way, for the record. I was just saying I hate driving through Atlanta. I was kind of smacking on Atlanta when I was with Johnson's Logic the other day. Anyway, there's this huge diverse range of loads in and around Atlanta. So, you learn the cities now, and in North and South Carolina, the loads are shit for the most part. You can get the occasional gem. There's even some high vows in and around that region. I'm not getting specific on any areas, but I'm just saying there are some. But there's also the Gatorade load, which you prime drivers are familiar with. So you can, you understand where, like, if you go into North Carolina, it's a big gamble. You're probably going to have to take a really shitty highway out to the middle of nowhere to get a load that doesn't pay that great just to get out of North Carolina. You learn those things, but do you have a whole lot of control over what lanes you run? Not really, not most of the time. So you hate driving in Atlanta too. Prime lease ops have little or no choice in their freight lanes. If Prime allowed lease ops to pick their freight, Prime would be a great option. Okay, so yeah, Rick, and you're right. So you'll see Prime drivers talk about freight lanes. I know the freight lanes, and this is the lanes I like to run. They don't have that much control. That said, there's a lot of things now. My truck has a little more control over it because we have load choice, and we're absolutely not afraid to say no to a load. Like, we don't even hesitate, guys. Just so you know, if you ever wonder and I'm not advising you to say no to loads. I'm just saying, if I've seen people say you should never, ever, ever say no to a load. Man, I've said no to probably 100 loads. I'm not exaggerating. I do not hesitate for a second to say no to a load. Like, it's not even a hesitation. Now, in my first year with Prime, I was terrified to do it. I wanted to be that guy. I wanted to be the team player. I wanted to pull my weight and do what I could. And I don't think I ever said no. I think I might've said no to one load at like 8 or 9 months in. But this year, my second year, man, I will not hesitate to say no. And so that's given me a little more control over it. And sometimes I'll get tested, if they give me a load that goes coast to coast that I don't want to run, they'll come back and give me something that's like, $1 a mile going from like Virginia to Minnesota. And I'll call their bluff and I'll take it because, in a lot of these cases, it's not about the dollar amount for me or the revenue so much as it is about getting somewhere that doesn't kill us to run there, but also somewhere we want to be. And Minnesota is a great place to be because you've got the meat loads down in Nebraska. You've got pork loads there in Minnesota, really good loads on the northwestern side of Illinois, great loads over in Wisconsin. There's a lot of good freight in Wisconsin. So you have some control over it, but, you just don't have the control that I think some people imply that you do. It's not like you can say, I'm only going to run this lane because, loads are proposed to you and there may not be any loads going that, you can't. So all that to say, it is very good to know the freight lanes. It's very good to know what to expect because if you know the freight lanes, if North Carolina is not going to give you or the odds are that North Carolina is not going to give you a great load every time you go there, then would you think twice about constantly taking cheap loads to North Carolina? You know what I'm saying? So it helps you think that way. But it's not something that you can just think you're going to come to Prime and just completely run the lanes that you want to run and nothing else. You don't have that kind of control. So I just wanted to address that. I'm going to cut this clip out and use it in another video in the near future because I am working on a video where I talk about the lanes that I like to try and run. But again, I don't have super huge control over that. Now, load choice, like I said, does help. Load choice definitely helps. But to be honest with you guys, now since we've been on load choice, and we've heard this from other drivers, load choice, for those of you who don't know, is something they're kind of testing with like 15 to 20% of the lease fleet, which when you finish a load lets you see 6 options, 6 other loads, and you can choose one of those loads. But what's been happening since we've been on load choice, or at least for the last 6 weeks probably, is that because we're on load choice and sales knows that we're about to look at 6 loads, they've pre-planned us on almost every single trip. And they're pre-planning us on really good loads right now because they know, I would assume that they know that because we're on load choice, if it's not a good load, we're just going to say no. Or with us, it's not that it's not a good load. For us, really, we take crap loads for Jen and I. For us, it's, are we going to be able to sleep? You know what I mean? That's kind of that's our thing. If it's going to have us running 1,200 miles a day, 4 days straight, that don't fly for us. There's other trucks to do that. My truck used to do that. I don't do that anymore. So there you have choice over it. But anyway, I just wanted to make that clear because I've gotten a lot of questions about it seemingly. I got one last night on the live of what freight lanes you like to stay in. It's like, well, it doesn't really work that way. Unless if you could get to the point where you can make it work that way, then Prime probably would have eventually have a conversation with you about your service contract. Because that would mean you'd be saying no to like 90% of the loads. You can't just run in one freight lane, So anyway, let me try to catch up with some of these comments. I wanted to get that out there real quick so that I had that video. And I would certainly be happy to answer any questions. I know Johnson's Logic and Do It All are in chat. They can try to answer some questions too. But I certainly can talk about where I like to get reloaded, what kind of rates I tend to get out of certain areas. I'm not going to give you specifics on customers because that's Prime's business. Other than here and there, when I'm at a customer, I might tell you, I'm not going to say, hey, this customer always pays this amount, because that's not something I want to do. 10 count. What's up, John St. Clair, Jeffro, Trucking and Plucking, Stacy McGee, no mask, Truck with Michigan or me. So I want to make sure I say hello to everyone. Chris C, I might have said hello to you. So let me go back and try to catch up on these comments. A 5-year-old memory is ancient technology. Yeah, don't remind me. It sucked. It sucked for my, and I was making a logo for Bearded Fat Man. I'll show you guys, because the thing that sucked about it is that I had I finished his logo and I took a picture of it. This is a picture of my computer, my Mac screen, Photoshop. So I had Photoshop open and I took a picture of just the screen. I was like, just snapped a picture of the screen so I could text it to him real quick. And he's like, hell yeah, I love it. And then my RAM crashed. So I got 5 years out of it. But man, that RAM for a Mac Pro is not cheap. I'm looking at probably $300 to $400 to replace it because I need 64 gigabytes. The Mac Pro has 4 slots. And I don't want to just put 8 gigabyte sticks in each of those slots. I want good, fast, good RAM. Jeremy says I rejected 7 loads in one day. You got me beat there, buddy. You got me beat, man. I've never rejected 7 loads in a day. I just woke up and drink coffee. That cracks me up, man. 7 loads in one day. Yeah, and that's the thing. People think that Prime's going to punish you. We always get rewarded, it seems. The load that always comes right after we reject one is way better, probably 9 out of 10 times. But I've never rejected 7 loads in one day. That's funny. We did run into a couple a few weeks ago that had not been west of Colorado for 7 years with Prime, a lease couple. They hadn't been west of Colorado for a long, long time. So they're like, I said, so do you just always say no to loads? And they say, no, we always say no to loads west of Colorado. So it made me not feel so bad about only going to California once per quarter, which is kind of what we do. All right, where was I? Hot Atlanta, yeah. Yeah, Jeffro, it is hot as hell in Atlanta, but man, it's hot everywhere down there. You know, people say hot Atlanta, but try to go to Houston at the same time that Atlanta's that hot. Neither one of them were pleasant. As a resident, also hate driving anything. So may have to deadhead to Atlanta out of Florida. Thanks, may have to deadhead to Atlanta out of Florida. I do that, man. If I have the option, I will deadhead out of Florida. Either that or flower loads. Rick, we actually have a bit more control than you think. Not much, but can certainly choose where my truck goes. There are times to leave out of my lane, but I usually get back in. Jenna has a migraine, by the way, but she did just make an appearance for some reason. Oh.
Not making no appearance.
Truck with me, I think that is. I've been watching your videos. Good insight on some of the videos. First time seeing your live. Your experience at Prime depends on who you are and who your fleet manager is. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. On the fleet managers, man, I hear horror stories with fleet managers. I cannot relate to that. I've had the same fleet manager since I started with Prime, other than my PSD, which was with a company fleet manager. But from TNT on, I've had the same fleet manager, and I hope I have the same fleet manager for as long as possible. I love my FM. I have Chris Martin, and he is amazing. He's been with Prime for 14 years. That dude does not drop the ball. Nothing falls through the cracks, man. You could have like the most insignificant thing, and I'll message him and I'll be like, hey, bro, this is not really important. Put it in a stack of stuff that you got to get to in 3 days. I know you got a lot of other things going on, and he'll have it dealt with in like 2 minutes. It doesn't matter. Big, small, large fires, small fires. Like nothing falls through the cracks. He gets everything done immediately. It's freaking amazing. So yeah, I think that I can't relate to having a bad fleet manager or a bad experience with a fleet manager because I've never had that. But if I was in constant conflict and was always having problems with my fleet manager, that would certainly change my experience with Prime, I would think. Prime has already gotten ahead on AB5 or contractor. Let's see. No, yeah, Matthew F. I gotta get the chimney cleaned out. And we tell ourselves every time we go home, hey, let's get someone to come clean the chimney. And then we get home and we don't do it. So it sucks. I'm trying to be festive because I'm going to have to get back on the road. And that's where I'm going to be for Christmas and New Year's, is in a truck. So we're trying to be festive here. I should get the chimney cleaned out and have a fire. But hasn't happened. Boothiel, Brian, what's up, man? Would you say it takes about 6 months at Prime to be on your own? I have 5 years of OTR experience, but have been off the road since 2012. Would I have to do PSD, or if I still have a CDL? Maybe Johnson's Logic can answer that for you. I think if you have a CDL, you start as a C seat, but you still have to do TNT. I think. So you get to skip the PSD phase, but you still have to do TNT. And that's not just to, I've seen people come in with CDLs that are frustrated because they have to go through, still have to go through training with Prime, but you got to understand Prime has its own business model. It has its own way of doing everything. And some things are similar to other companies. Some things are very specific to Prime. The way our whole model works, the way our fuel network works, the way, taking care of our trips and scanning those trips, and just the way the Prime business works, the business model takes time to really understand that and get that down. So a lot of it's not really proven you can drive a truck, although that's a big part of it, making sure you drive the truck safely, making sure you represent the company well, there's no complaints from customers throughout that time period. You are technically hired by Prime, you're an employee of Prime, but it's also one big testing phase, not just to make sure you're not hitting shit, but just to make sure that you can be a good part of the Prime model. So you guys are going after AB5 in the comments. I see that. Rick, if you're in Florida, ask for a load to a better market. Knowing your cost is key. Okay, I want to say something about that. Like I said, I do try to deadhead out of Florida if I can. Now, there are some good loads in Florida, guys. We've gotten really good. I think Pepsi we've gotten good loads out of like Orlando that are like $2 a mile. So really good for Florida. Also at Tropicana, of course, you all know what that orange juice pays, but they have like some organic juice, like some sort of protein, what is it called? Live culture, hipster juice that sometimes you'll get those loads instead of orange juice, and those loads pay really good. They pay over $2 a mile. So you can get some good loads out of Florida, but the last couple times I've just had better luck just deadheading out of Florida and getting like a chicken load right up there in Macon. There's good loads up in and around Macon. You can go up to Savannah and take flooring out too. Take flooring out of Savannah. Those flooring loads don't pay that well. They're not that, and they're also heavy. But sometimes they're short and just get you somewhere better. But what I was going to say on cost is key. Here's something that's really important, you guys. And this is not a slam on Prime or fleet management. Please don't take this the wrong way. Fleet managers have this habit of saying things like, we just got to keep your wheels turning. If your wheels ain't turning, you ain't earning. So we got to keep, your truck has to be driven by revenue. Well, that's true, but fleet managers, and this is again, I'm just being honest with you from the lease op perspective. Fleet managers are not really as concerned about your cost as you are, because your costs don't really affect them. You know what I mean? Like, revenue is what affects fleet managers and what they make. What you have to spend to get that revenue does not affect them. So this is why California doesn't make any sense for us financially, not for Jenna and I, because the fuel's way more expensive. The wear and tear on the truck is worse. You may have downtime in the winter. There's so many variables there. But what I have to spend in fuel in California versus what I have to spend in fuel in the Midwest are vastly different, right? But from a fleet manager's perspective, that's irrelevant. Or if there's tolls, you have to go somewhere where there's a lot of tolls. Well, fleet manager is not paying for tolls. So to Rick N's comment of you have to take cost into consideration, absolutely. And Jen and I do every time a load is proposed, not just what the revenue is going to be and where it's going to leave us, where we're going to be able to get loaded out of there, but what is it going to cost us to get from point A to point B? Because your fleet manager is not taking that into account. And quite frankly, he or she doesn't care because it has no effect on them. So it's easy for them to just say, your truck has to be driven by revenue. Let's keep you moving. Just take this load so we can keep you moving. But you may, that particular trip may cost you a lot more, and that has no effect on their income or their profit. So they're never going to be like, hey, I understand if you don't want to take this load and you'd rather take the next because the next is more profitable because it has less cost. They're not going to say that. They're just going to say, look at all this revenue. Look at this revenue. Let's just keep you going. So yes, definitely have to take costs into account. And I know some drivers that went years without doing that. They just took every single load, never took costs into account. And then we sat down and looked at the numbers and did some comparison. And they're like, how the hell are you profiting well over 60 cents a mile running the loads you're running? And I was like, because I'm not, anyway. I love driving a truck, but hate driving a truck. Does that make sense to anyone else besides me? Nick, yes, it does. It absolutely makes sense. I, too, love driving a truck, but hate driving a truck. If you have to quit a company over a fleet manager, that's a problem. You should be able to quit the fleet manager, truck and plug. And that's true, but there's some complexities there that I'm not really sure of. Stefan, that is not true, man. Trucking and Plucking is there right now. He has his CDL and he does not have to do PSD. So, yeah, if you already have your CDL, you start. I believe he starts as a C seat, because I was just at campus talking with him about that. Anyone know how to fix a bunk heater? No idea. Used to live in California, Nevada, we're in Washington. They're all liberal leaning. Sorry, Mr. Comment. You'll have to do. Okay, so there. I'm just now catching up. So Johnson's logic says you do have to. You go straight into TNT, and you still have to do the 60,000 miles, even with your CDL. That's what I thought. But again, guys, that's not. It's not to learn to drive a truck. That's to learn the business model at Prime and to prove that you can be integrated into the business model at Prime. Yeah, Trucking and Plucking says, yeah, you go straight to TNT. You may have to do a few little short things, but it's nothing. It's not actual PSD where you go out on the road for a couple weeks and then have to test out for a CDL. Like, you get hired right away. Whereas PSD, you're not an actual employee of Prime. You're not an employee until you start TNT. Holy crap. I'm trying to figure out. Thank you guys, by the way, for joining tonight. I know I did one last night. Jason Robinson, I don't know if I said hey to you. Nick Ferdinand, hello to you. Jonathan Moody. Wow. Okay, this is I'm going to try to catch up here. This is kind of hard to follow. I need Jenna. It's been around. Well, kind of building a house, not how it is plumbing subconsciously, you know. Boy, there's a fun little argument going on there in the comments about independent contracting, and I'm not even going to try to jump into. I do think California's AB5 is an absolute disaster and is about as anti-American as you can possibly get. That's an absolute disaster. I've been 1099 independent contractor for more of my life than I have been W-2. And I just think it's an absolute disaster. I mean, if you think about, so, you know, like I've done video production, video editing. I went to school for graphic communication. So I've done graphic art, all kinds of things that I was most successful at because I was able to go to a client and say, here's what I'll do for you for X amount of dollars. I don't have to be your employee. I don't want to be your employee. I don't need you to give me health insurance. I don't need you to do anything. This is just a $2,500 project. I'll have it done in 2 weeks. Let's sign a contract. Let's agree and let's move on. I don't know what's so bad about that. And maybe I'm just oversimplifying the debate that's happening in the comments, but I don't understand why a state would need to come in and protect me as the graphic artist doing a $2,500 project. I know what the hell's going on. I don't need protection. I don't need the state to come in and tell me I'm actually an employee. I don't want to be an employee. That's the whole point. If you want to be an employee, go work for Amazon. Go do something like that. Let's see. Wrote this pretty sure before you go to TNT. It's what I do when I came to Prime with my CDO. Let's see. Don't like AB5, but I've seen people get screwed by companies misclassifying employees as 1099 way too many times. I don't know. People get screwed all the time, guys. Life is not fair. Life is not fair. If you want life to be fair, you're in for a rough ride. Employees, W-2 employees get screwed all the time. 1099ers get screwed all the time. People get screwed all the time. Life sucks sometimes. Here's the thing, though. You have a choice to go anywhere you want. No one forces you to work anywhere. No one forces you to work for anyone. No one forces you to 1099. No one forces you to take a contract. No one forces you to stay in that warehouse. You have a choice. If you don't like the situation, go do something else. For F's sake, man. So we all just need our hand. Like I can't stand we need our handheld philosophy. I don't need my handheld. Nobody hold me. I don't need my handheld. And I don't need someone to make it all fair for me. I'll choose where I want to go and I'll do what I want to do. And if I don't like where I'm at, I'll move on and go somewhere else. I don't like someone telling me that I can't work the way I want to work. The only thing I had to do is skills test on simulator today. Yeah, so trucking and plucking, guys, they're saying you have to do things at Prime. You don't have to go through PSD. You don't have to go out with a red-shirted, what are they called? I always say inspector, but the guys you do the test with. Examiner, thank you. It's always Johnson's Logic telling me it's examiner. Yeah, you don't have to go take the CDL test. You're an employee from the beginning if you come in with a CDL. Track and plug-in's there right now. It's pretty basic. So anyway, guys, I'm going to try to stay out of that AB5 debate. There's all kinds of opinions on that. I was just saying, for me, I don't like being told that I shouldn't be able to have a very basic understanding between me and someone else. You need a service provided. I can provide that service for you. Here's the amount I would like you to pay me for that service. I don't need to be your employee. I don't need your health insurance. Let's complete this contract. You give me the money. I give you the product. We go on our way. I don't understand what's so complex about that. That's 1099 independent contract work. Ross, she had a migraine headache this evening. So I love how this has become the AB5 live. So anyway, I thought there would be more questions about freight lanes. Last night, everybody's like, hey, where do you like to drive? Where do you like to stay? And where do you like to take freight? Now I actually do a live about freight lanes, and nobody has any questions. It's the way it goes. It's the way it goes. That's why I like lives, though, is that the crowd always takes it where they want, and it always goes interesting directions. Why is no one out west? I don't know if you're asking why is no one out west. Love the Mountain West. Was planning on moving to Idaho. Yeah, it is beautiful up there, man. It is definitely beautiful. Especially going there through, was it Coeur d'Alene? Over there, like between the Washington, like right by the Washington border. And then you got what's that pass up there, guys, by Boise? What is the name of that pass? Can't think of the name of that pass. Anyway, there's a really nasty pass up there by Boise, but it is so beautiful. So beautiful. So freaking beautiful up there. So it's, love driving up there. I just don't like driving up there. What lane do you like driving as a team versus solo? What lane do we like driving as a team versus solo? Oh, man. That one's tough. Well, here, let me put it this way. As a solo driver, I like longer runs, definitely. As a solo driver, like 12 to 15. Well, this is probably, a lot of you are going to hear this and you're going to be like, that's not a long run. I like 1,500 mile runs as a solo driver because it's less time at shippers and receivers. And I have to stop for 10-hour breaks anyway, so I'm going to get good sleep. You know what I'm saying? As a team truck, because I'm scared of not getting good sleep. Like we bust out 2 loads within 30 hours, and then I can sleep at the shipper and receiver if we're doing live loads. So I think as team, we kind of like to run PA, New York. When I say New York, I mean like not New York City. PA, New York, and like Maine area, to and from the Midwest, up into Wisconsin, Minnesota, and then kind of stay in that area. Not Michigan. Certainly not Reed City. You prime drivers know what I'm talking about. Not Reed City. But we have great success with the not New Jersey, not New York City, Northeast, not Connecticut, not Massachusetts, like Maine, New Hampshire, New York, upstate New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, Illinois, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Nebraska, Iowa. If we could stay in that, in that track at all times, we'd be extremely happy. That's where we make the most money. That's where we get the most sleep. I would run that all the time if we could, all the time. And when I was solo, I like to get maybe over in Colorado down to Texas, southern states, Alabama, a lot of Tyson chicken loads down there, and Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, and I liked running down there solo. But again, it's because I had to legally stop the truck for 10 hours, so I got good sleep. So I wasn't concerned about having to run longer loads or keep running for longer periods of time because I had to get those breaks. For Jen and I to get sleep, if we can run from PA to Minnesota or Virginia to Minnesota, 1,200 miles, and then the load's done, then we'll push our PTA out 5 or 6 hours, go park somewhere, get some good sleep, get a shower, then get on load choice and take another load. That's the way we do it. So, let's see. The lows don't pay well out. There's some good. It depends on the season trucking and plugging. There's like you get onions out of Washington. There's really good potato loads out of Idaho, and there's really shitty potato loads out of Idaho. There's some great Chobani loads out of Idaho. So there's good loads up there. I'm trying to get to all of your, Johnson's Logic. Yeah, it depends on the customer. There's Johnson's Logic. He's saying it. Depends on the customer. There's some good loads. There are some good loads. There's also some crap loads. Maine is boring. Maine is very boring. But here's what I'll say about Maine. There's like no traffic up there. Once you get past Portland, in Maine, there's no traffic. Like you have to drive all the way up north where the French fries are. I can't remember the name of the town up there. So I'm sure someone will say in chat what the name of that town is up there where the French fries are. There's like no traffic. It's just like 5 hours on the toll road, and then it becomes a not toll road, and there's like no traffic up there. Reeds Across America is up there in Maine too. And then there's a great bakery just across New Hampshire. We also carry Bed Bath & Beyond candles out of New Hampshire. Reed City, I gotta see what he said. Reed City, and of course the Vermont loads to Nevada. You know the ones. Are you saying you don't like those, Ross? Yeah, the Vermont loads to Nevada. Yeah, no way. I hate that load. Oh, I hate that trip so bad. And the thing about that, the ice cream loads to Henderson, Nevada, it's a kick in the nuts just to start that trip because there's no good way out of Vermont. You either have to take that weird, just shitty 2-lane curvy highway right in the border of Canada, over to go north of the lakes to get out of there, or you have to backtrack back down the interstate down to Massachusetts, which adds a ton of miles if you want to avoid the back roads, or you have to go the way Lyle just went, which is through all those mountains and the two-lane roads cutting across south of the lakes. So it's just a kick in the nuts to leave the ice cream place in Vermont. Like the first 300 or 400 miles of that drive is just asinine. And then you got to go all the way to Henderson. And then you're going to have to like deadhead into California unless you get absolutely lucky and get something out of Vegas, which we've gotten lucky that way a couple times. But man, that trip just sucks. $2 loads out of Michigan. Yeah, there's definitely $2 loads out of Michigan. I just hate driving in Michigan. Like, I feel like going to Reed City takes forever. That highway just keeps on. Like, you feel like Michigan's actually a big state, you guys. Like, you wouldn't think that it's that big of a state, but if you ever have to drive up to Reed City, you're like, holy shit, this is a big state. You're just driving forever to get up to Reed City. I don't like it. And there's not any real, you can't just like get off of 80 or 90 and then just take one direct route up there. You know, there's all kinds of switching and the roads are crappy. And I'm not saying there's not good loads out of Michigan. There are. We've got really good loads out of Michigan, especially in the suburbs around Detroit. We've got great loads up there. But I just hate driving in Michigan. I don't know what it is. Jeremy agreed. No love for Reed City from me. I blacklist that place with my fleet manager. I'll give you guys a little bit of a secret about those. Well, I guess it's not a secret, but I'll give you a little food for thought. I'm not advising this. I'm just telling you what someone advised me at one time. Is that those Reed City loads? You can always drop that off at Prime. Just saying. If you just need to get out of there. And I'm not going to tell you who advised me that because I don't want to get that person in trouble because I have a good working relationship with someone. But on the phone, someone said to me, hey, I know this isn't the greatest load ever, but wink, wink, hint, hint. You could always just drop it off at Prime because Prime's, you know, if you could take that route and drop it off in Springfield. So that's what we do. Okay, Sean Miller, you say Prime is a good starting company, but I talked to other drivers out here making way more money than we could make. If you want to make it with Prime, you got to stay out for at least 2 months. Not true. Not true. I made great money as a solo driver. I never stayed out for 2 months. As a team truck, Jenna and I go home every 25 days. We've already been home since Friday. Today's Thursday. We're not leaving until the 8th. We take a lot of time off as a team truck. Can you make more money by staying out longer? Yes. And is it just a good starting company? Well, if that's the case, why are there so many Prime drivers who don't want to leave? Why are there so many happy Prime drivers? I don't, it was my plan to leave after a year. I viewed Prime as a starter company. And then once I got to a year, I felt like I was just getting started. I felt like I was just learning the model. I was just now like hitting the ground running at 1 year for me. 1 year was like my introduction to Prime. That was like 1 year to me was my training. Even though I was upgraded solo and on my own at 1 year, I was like, okay, now I get it. Now I'm ready. Now I know. So, yeah, well, look, there's another YouTuber, pretty big channel. I'm not going to mention his name, who was at Prime. And he left Prime thinking there were greener pastures. And since he left Prime, I've watched him bounce between like 4 different trucking jobs in the last 8 months since he left Prime. So, people say that. Then they leave Prime, and there's another driver, Jen and I know, who left Prime like 2 months ago, and he has so much regret because you got to stay away from Prime for a year before they'll bring you back. And he just regrets it every single day because he's just bouncing around out there. He's had 2 different trucking jobs since he left Prime, and he's like, holy F, why did I leave Prime? So. Easton, Maine. Thank you, Huey. Easton. I never can remember that damn town. Which, those Easton French fry loads, they don't pay that great. I mean, I think they're like $1.60 or something. But I don't mind them. I really don't. I don't mind those loads at all, man. There's a nice little washout, you know, it's just a little privately owned washout dirt lot that's right outside of that Easton plant. That there's never a line, there's never any other trucks that you pull in there, back up, the guy washes you out. There's overnight parking. Before Kung Flu, they had a really nice restaurant that was for all the employees and staff there at Easton that you could go in and order food, get a salad, and get a burger, you know, like they actually cooked it right there on the spot. Really good food. Now, because of Kung Flu, drivers can't go in there, which sucks, but there's still overnight parking. I don't mind Easton at all, man. I don't mind. Like when I go up to Maine to drop off at Walmart, I hope that they send me to Easton because it's always my dread that it's going to be like, go to Vermont and get ice cream. Jenna turned my stomach yesterday when she twisted her fingers all the way back. Gross. Yeah. I'll show you guys a picture. It's probably embarrass her. But she's got a migraine and she's in bed, so she won't know. So if you guys want to know how absolutely flexible she is, this was her checking text messages. Look at that. Just chilling. I looked over. We weren't driving. I looked over and I'm like, what kind of position is that? Oh, man. But yeah, she can bend her fingers back, her legs bow backwards, or like it friggin' weirds me out. I can't stand it. I can't even stand to have my fingers popped. Johnson's Logic, hate them. It's a no every time. Yeah, me too. All back highways until you can get to New York or Massachusetts. Yeah, it freaking sucks. That's why I said it's a punch in the teeth just to leave there. Not to mention it's not a good paying load. It ends you up in Henderson. It's just a pain in the ass just to get to and leave there. See there, you're on that load right now. What load is that? Sorry, guys, I'm probably way behind here. Thanks for taking one for the team. Yeah, we were parked for that picture. Someone mentioned a video a while back. Why is there so many drivers on the wall who have had 1 million miles or 2 million miles accident free? Matthew, exactly. People say Prime is a scam. The leasing is a scam. There are literally thousands and thousands of active right now lease drivers at Prime. If it's such a scam and so horrible, how would there be thousands and thousands of leased trucks at Prime? How would that be? How would that be? How is there just hallway after hallway of copper plaques or whatever metal those are of people who've done 1 million miles for Prime, accident free? I mean, hallways and hallways. It's not like just one little wall. It's like hall after hall of people who've done over 1 million miles with Prime. I meet drivers every single day out there on the road who've been with Prime for 5, 7, 10 years. How is that possible for a starter company that is nothing but a scam? How's that possible? Got to finish those CBTs, the good old CBTs. Well, trucking and plugging, you're going to notice that as you get about 60% of the way through the CBTs, you feel like you're taking the same damn CBT over and over again. Cabbage, yes. JJ Hammer down. Cabbage, yes. That's the pass I was trying to think of. I think they call it the Cabbage Trail or the Cabbage Pass. Yeah, it's a gnarly pass, especially if you're fully loaded. It can be gnarly. And yeah, so that's the Cabbage Pass over there going into Boise, I believe it is. Freaking beautiful, but holy crap, man. You better know how to control your truck if you're fully loaded. Let's say you can make money as a solo driver, but you have to have a good fleet manager. On the other hand, you'll have money if you're willing, but it's not the best. I used to do 3 to 4 weeks and made money. I don't know. Follow Johnson's Logic's channel, you guys. He's making the same or better money solo that he did teaming. So I just don't subscribe to. I can't subscribe to the idea that you can't make good money solo. I'm not going to say easily, but it's not. You don't have to slave away like some people think you do as a solo driver. I didn't. Get it done so long, but still, yeah. These awards have not branched out to the Plaza building too. Oh, have they now? They're in the Plaza now too? Holy crap. Yeah, so it's going to soon become the case where every single wall at Prime, and Prime is a freaking Disney World for truckers. I mean, that place is huge. Every single wall is going to be covered with million mile plaques. How is that possible? So thankful to be acquainted with men like Do It All or Million Mile Man who have been around the block, still are dedicated to Prime. Yeah, they have, John St. Clair. Do It All, I think, has been driving for like 13 years or something. 7 years, maybe. A while. Million Mile Man, long time, over a decade. So that's a perfect, yeah, I am caught up. That's a perfect example of why is Million Mile Man and Do It All at Prime if Prime is just a starter company that's so terrible. They've been driving for more than a decade. Million Mile Man loves Prime. You know, he's got his quirks and criticisms that he doesn't like about Prime. Everybody does, but how is it that this dude's been driving for more than a decade and he loves Prime and he's happy with Prime? How is that possible if it's a starter company? And then Do It All didn't start with Prime. I think he's only been with Prime for a couple years. He drove for KLM or CRST or somebody else for a long time. So he came from another company and is now at Prime. He's been at Prime for a couple years, or I don't know about a couple years, but a while. How does he like it? How is this? I mean, it's just a starter company, right? It's just a scam. So anyway, yeah, Reed Johnson's Logic's comment there, Rhett. It is not easy to change fleet managers. I'll just say that. Like, there's some, but I can't really comment on that again because I can't relate to anyone that's having struggles with their fleet manager because I don't have a struggle with my fleet manager, and I'm blessed and grateful to have the fleet manager that I have. And he's been with Prime for 14 years, and I tell him often, please don't retire anytime soon. Please have a long and prosperous career with Prime for at least the next 6 years, which is kind of my plan. So anyway, all right, guys, we're over an hour. If you could, please, real quick before you leave, hit that like button. That would be very helpful to me. Just that quick thumbs up button. And thank you. I see you guys hitting the like button right now. Bearded Fat Man and Traveling Southern Belle. I've got a video. I'm going to do a video tomorrow, and I'm going to give you guys a shout out. Traveling Southern Belle, thank you for the comment today, and hope you're doing well. Sorry again, we said it last night. Sorry again about the COVID diagnosis. It's that's a bummer. Definitely a bummer. But if you guys haven't done so, please, 2 new channels that I'm going to do some shout outs for this week: Bearded Fat Man and Traveling Southern Belle. I haven't seen them tonight, but it doesn't matter. Go look up their channels and give them a follow. Both of them are in TNT, I believe. Great channels if you want to watch from the perspective of people at the beginning. Truckin' and Pluckin', who is in the chat right now, is sitting at Campus Inn at Prime right now doing his CBT. So he's about to begin the TNT phase. You can get an interesting perspective there. Of course, Johnson's Logic and Do It All Trucking Million Mile Man. Kind of got this little tribe of a few channels that all are growing, super fast thanks to all of you guys' support. So please keep supporting them and helping us grow. So thank you guys so much. Hopefully enjoyed the second in a row live. Missed most of the live videos. Sorry, Jeffro. Keep doing long vids. It helps drivers get through their shifts. Yeah, I know Doodle listens to them as well. I need to start listening to them. I listen to podcasts on I listen to audiobooks and podcasts on Spotify. So that's pretty much what I listen to when I drive. Found out those who knock Prime leasing have failed in it and don't understand how to run a business. Yeah, definitely. I had someone comment on a video that he actually deleted his comment in his thread because after like 15 comments, I got him to admit that he quit Prime and was only a company driver, was never a lease driver. And he had quit Prime because he got mad about the types of loads they were making him run as a company driver. Yet he's running around on multiple Prime YouTube channels trashing the lease program. You were a company driver at Prime. You didn't like the kinds of loads, and somehow you think that you can run around on channels and trash Prime's lease program. So anytime you see people trashing Prime's lease program, question the motives, because again, there's thousands of plaques on the hallways of drivers who've had over a million miles, and there are thousands and thousands of happy lease drivers at Prime. Question the motives. So, all right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Got my first cup of hardly working coffee down, so I'm going to get into my second coffee and then try to fix my computer and try to stay up all night again tonight so that I'm ready when we finally hit the road to get back into our schedule. But again, thanks, guys. Really appreciate you tuning in for this one again tonight. You guys are awesome. Love the community we have here on YouTube. It is so inspiring and awesome. So thank you, guys. Be safe. Make good decisions. And as always, drive to thrive. Talk to you soon.